All right, guys. Yeah, look, third day in a row in pads. So I thought, practice was a little bit chippy today, which, isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think our guys are competing. I didn't think the execution, overall was as good as we needed it to be today, but, that's kind of to be expected a little bit throughout training camp. You're going to have some of these days, and so how do we respond? We'll have a day off tomorrow. How do we respond and come back and have a good practice on Friday? I still think we got some things accomplished. I just don't think it was quite as clean as what I would have liked for it to be today. But look, we'll go back and look at the tape and see what it ultimately looked like.
Hey Dennis, at what point do you have to have a conversation with the players about focus more on getting the work done versus all the pushing?
I think that's a constant conversation that needs to be had. And look, we're in training camp. I don't know that I've ever been in a training camp where there's not some of that goes on. And in particular, when you've had 3 straight days, padded practices, hitting against the same people, and so there's some of that's to be expected. And obviously we can't let it get escalated because you can't do that in the game. And so I think that's just a constant thing that we're talking about and discussing. And look, I think relative to a lot of places I've been, we've been pretty clean in that area. So we'll keep working at it.
Is that what kind of prompted the sprints before the last set? It's obviously a little unusual.
No. We've incorporated a little bit more of what I'm calling the developmental period. So there's only so many reps that go, in training camp. A lot of those reps are going to the 1s and the 2s. And so some of the guys are on the 3s, aren't quite getting as many reps. And so this is an opportunity at the end of practice for them to get, 10 to 12 good solid reps. And develop some of these young players. I think that's, the business that we're in. And so it's something that, we're trying to incorporate this year. We'll see how many times we can do it, how much we can get out of it. Numbers and people available will obviously, make it, a little bit more difficult at times to be able to do that. But it's an opportunity for some of the, young guys or even some of the veteran guys that aren't, working with the first and second group, a chance for those guys to get a few more reps.
Third down work today. What do you think of defensive effort in third down work?
I thought overall, I'd say pretty good. Again, we'll go back and look at the tape, to see exactly, how we operated both, offensively and defensively, and kind of keep score of that just a little bit in terms of did you make the first down or not, and see where we're at. But I thought just on first glance, I thought we did some good things defensively.
Hey, what does this ramp-up period look like for Chase? It looks like, obviously you guys want to be a little cautious with him, and now he's ahead of schedule, I guess.
Yeah, well, he's certainly ahead of where we thought he was going to be at this point in time. So I think the ramp up for him is just every day you're going to see a little bit more. Now what's a little bit more? Well, maybe a couple more reps each period until finally we're ready to fully incorporate him into the whole deal. But I haven't seen any limitations at all out of him. Other than I think, look, he's got a, it's really kind of been a while since he's really been, playing real football. That was all the way back to whatever it was, January, February of early this year. So just trying to get his football legs up under him a little bit, and I like the progress that he's making.
Would you say so far he's been the guy you hoped he would be?
Yeah, I would say he's exceeded my expectations to this point, just in terms of, look, I didn't really know the player. I knew of him coming out of, Ohio State and the talent that he was, and you know, obviously saw him play in our league, but I didn't really know him personally. But just the way that he's gone about his business, the way that he's come to work every day, he's done everything that we've asked him to do, the way we've asked him to do it. You know, never has there been any sort of kickback on anything, and so, you know, I've been you know, really pleased with that part of it, and I think, you know, as you watch practice, I think you can feel it when he's out there. So yeah, I'd say probably exceeded expectations a little bit.
Yeah, Eric and DeMario not in the team today. Is that just kind of a veteran's day?
Well, part of it. He also pulled up with a little bit of a hamstring on one of those one-on-one drills. So we had two guys, Tommy Hudson and DeMario, that left practice with hamstrings.
And Eric was planned there?
Eric McCoy was a planned day.
Okay. Is that a change? Because in the past we've talked to him and he said, hey, if Eric's out there, I want to be out there. So.
Yeah, I think Eric's just one of those players that he's extremely important to us. And he's had, you know, a history of a little bit of soft tissue injuries, and so I think that's part of just managing that. I think that list is way shorter this year than it's ever been in terms of guys that we need to manage. You know, we're really basically talking about you know, a few guys on defense, some of the older players on defense, and just a couple of guys on offense that we've got some sort of management plan based on either age or injury history.
There's no Cedric Wilson or Bub Yanes out there?
Both of them dealing with injuries. Cedric a groin, and I guess you'd call Bub more of a shin. It's a muscle here on the lower part of the leg.
Is there any update on Nick Salvador?
No, he's dealing with calf injury.
We've seen Juwan kind of just running, ramping up. Is he maybe close to return, or has he been?
Yeah, I'm not getting into any timelines on anybody. I mean, certainly there's a process that goes along with recovery, you know, and when guys get out here and you start seeing them working with the trainers, and they're doing land-based training, then, you know, they're getting, you know, closer to, you know, being able to come out here and start participating in football activities. So exactly how long that takes, you know, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, what do you think about your tight end room so far? Especially not having Juwan.
Well, look, I mean, obviously not having Juwan makes it look a little bit different, you know. I think Foster's done a good job with the things that we're asking him to do. Holker's the guy that's kind of caught my eye a little bit in terms of, you know, doing some things in the passing game. You know, I think it's an area that we still have to improve on. You know, when you look at the guys that we have out there right now, we've got one guy that's, you know, proven that he's got the ability to play in this league at a certain level, and then we've got a lot of other guys that are trying to prove that they belong, you know, and so I think that's where the process is at the tight end position right now.
So are you happy with your O-line yet? Across the board?
Yeah, look, I mean, I still think all that still kind of remains to be seen. You know, let's play this thing out throughout training camp and see how everybody develops. See where we're at the end of training camp. If we feel like we've got the, you know, depth that we need. I think from a talent standpoint, I think we've got enough guys on our offensive line that I think we can find a group of guys that, from starters to backups to practice squad players, I think there's a group of guys that, you know, have the talent to be able to play in this league. And yet, if we see somebody that's out there on the street or becomes available that we feel like can help us, we'll look to explore every avenue that we can.
Dennis, would you say that Isaiah Foskey has taken a step forward in this camp?
Yeah, but I want to see him take a jump. You know what I mean? And so I think that's where we're at. I have seen some improvement out of the player. and yet I think my vision for him is more than what we've gotten to this point. And I think that's part of the process. You know, that's not to say that I'm not pleased with what I've seen. I just know there's more in there, and we're going to continue to try to work to get, you know, everything out of him that we possibly can. And so, but in terms of at the start of training camp, from where we were, call it even at the end of last season to where he is now, there's been progress, and so I'm hoping that we'll continue to make that progress, and then hopefully as we get into some of these preseason games, you begin to see, you know, some significant, you know, leaps in terms of his production.
And yeah, it's kind of off topic, but there's a report today about the NFL experimenting during the preseason with some technology that gets rid of the chain gang. Have you seen anything about that? And what are the
I did,
pros
and
and cons, or do you even know enough about it?
I don't know that I know enough about it to really have much of an opinion. Look, I know this, regardless of how they figure it out, okay, it's 10 yards for a first down, okay, unless there's a penalty. So I kind of know that. So I have a pretty good idea of what the line to gain is, you know. Now how they figure out, did they actually make it or not, that's for somebody else to figure out how to do that. All right? Okay, guys, thanks.